right, welcome in to Big Hitters Only. Appreciate y'all joining us. It's Thursday, April 2nd at 2:07 p.m. So Thursday afternoon, kind of a midweek podcast. There isn't really any new news from our last podcast. I'm sure everyone's listening to this has been reading Inside Carolina and reading Tar Heel 247 and all the national stuff. So nothing has really changed. It's just more and more media availability with some of the candidates. Tommy Lloyd, Dusty May, Billy Donovan. Of course, those two coaches, May and Lloyd, are at the Final Four. So talking to the media today and I think again Friday. So some stuff off that. We got Riley Davis and Mike Harrison coming off their appearance, I think 2 podcasts ago. Let's just dive in. Mike, like, how are you feeling right now about this search? Like, the way it's progressing, it's super quiet on the UNC side. I think by design, I think that's kind of indicator that they've narrowed their scope in on 1 or 2 candidates, and maybe they feel really confident about where the search is heading. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to look at it.
Yeah, no, I think the thing that most UNC folks are thinking is that they've locked in on Tommy Lloyd, and that the longer this goes into the weekend without an extension for Arizona announced, with continued press conferences, he should be speaking with the media here in about an hour or so. I know that Dusty May is talking to Field of 68 as we speak. But the longer this goes without him denying or shutting down the rumors, continuing to give I could give a shit about North Carolina type responses, the better UNC's chances are. I think if this goes into the weekend and we're still not hearing one thing or another, depending upon a loss to Michigan or title game or even after the national championship on Monday, the better UNC has to feel pretty darn good about him if they're willing to wait this long. And so what's nice to see is I think this is kind of a clear departure from how they conducted the football coaching search. It feels like they're a little bit more professional, a little bit quieter about this. They've probably involved less voices in the room about who should be hired and allowing people to have more influence than they should. So I'm hoping Tommy Lloyd. It feels like it's trending that way, but until he is at the press conference for Carolina, there's always the Shane Beamer possibility or Frank Beamer possibility.
Yeah, and I would think they're not involving the board of trustees and kind of rogue members in the search, kind of having learned their lesson. I'm sure it's a Bubba, Steve Newmark, and a Lee Roberts-led organization here with Bubba and Steve doing most of the legwork, and Lee Roberts probably maybe coming in to close a deal when he needs to, things like that. Riley, what's your general sense about the search? How you feeling here? Week 2? I don't feel any nerves, I just feel like UNC is like the best job, and we're going to get a good coach. I generally like the backup option, which seems to be Billy Donovan as a potential backup option. I think that's not an A+ pick, maybe like a B+, A-. But how are you feeling, Riley?
So I think Billy Donovan would be an A+ hire. I would be elated with that hire as well. I would rather have Tommy or Dusty given my pick, just with their background in the sport and rising to prominence and knowing how the portal and all the NIL stuff works. I don't know, man. There's part of me that's shares the same sentiments. That's like the longer this drags out, the better it looks for UNC's chances with Tommy Lloyd, and yet I just can't shake the possibility or the reality of him getting his program to the Final Four for the first time in 25 years. And even just from an emotional standpoint, there's like part of me that thinks that's going to be tough to leave if the money's just comparable. Now, you could always say UNC might be able to get into a bidding war with a Big 12 school and drive the price up. And I don't know about y'all, but I've done all sorts of deep dives of Arizona athletic department budget issues and even why they brought in their current AD, who there seems to be the rift with. And that would lead me to think, with Carolina, maybe it is easier to sweeten the salary a little bit or to dangle that potential like entrance into the Big Ten or the SEC down the line for there to be even more money. Maybe that's something that sways it. But I like and I admire the UNC fans who are taking the cautiously optimistic stance where it's like, man, this looks good for Carolina. He hasn't denied it. Like it makes me excited as well. I've like been. There are podcasts that I've done like for sleepers over the years on Arizona where I've been a long time Tommy Lloyd fan. I think from a stylistic standpoint, it's very much like modernized Roy Williams basketball, and I think that speaks to my heart as a Carolina fan. So, yeah, I would be thrilled with that hire, but there's maybe it's just because things generally have not gone well for Carolina since 2022, since that Caleb Love shot against Duke. It feels like the worst case happens more often. Maybe not the worst case, but not the best case happens more often than not. That's where there's part of it that's like, should we just go ahead and throw the full court press on Billy Donovan? Like, he doesn't seem happy in Chicago. You're seeing reports daily where it's like he's probably not coming back. Like, maybe they should go lock that one up, but I can't blame him for waiting this one out and seeing if they can capitalize.
So timeline-wise, as we reset, championship game is April 6th. That's Monday. The transfer portal opens Tuesday, the morning of Tuesday, April 7th. Yeah. Billy Donovan's last game as Chicago Bulls coach, I think, is April 12th. I didn't realize it was that soon. Playoffs start. I guess playoffs start in mid-April. For NBA, it's like a 2-month playoff situation. So I guess the earliest he could be hired, Billy Donovan that is, would be shortly after April 12th, maybe a couple days after. So that's kind of the last time if we're going for Donovan. So ideally, Lloyd, if let's say he makes it to the national championship game, wins on Saturday, beats Michigan, plays Monday, April 6th, and then he's named UNC's head coach Wednesday, April 8th, and is introduced Thursday. That would kind of be, you give it a day. You announce it, press conference on Thursday or Friday. That's kind of what I would think. And then, all right, so let's go through some scenarios here. First, Roback.com, promo code BIGHitters20. That's not Roback, is it, Mike?
That's Masters. Sorry to disappoint.
It's Masters, yeah. It's his season. But Roback has tons of great polos. I'm wearing the hoodie here, the Carolina Brandon hoodie, with tons of great polos. Everything you want, like 5 or 6 UNC hoodies, UNC polos, all different kinds. Tons of just regular golf polos. Get your polos. Great gift heading into spring and golf season. Roback.com, promo code BIGHitters20, BIGHitters20. Way to support this podcast and pay Connor and Garrett behind the scenes. All right, so let's run through some scenarios here. Let's say Lloyd loses on Saturday to Michigan.
Yep.
Does that help or hurt UNC's chances of getting Lloyd? Quickly, let's just bounce some ideas here.
I think the quicker the exit, the better UNC's chances are. I think that you agree with that, Riley?
I would echo that sentiment. Yeah.
And I think some things I've seen as well is like if he wins a championship, there's other way to approach it where it's like I've delivered a title to Arizona. I've done my job. All right, congratulations. You're welcome. I'm now heading to blue heaven.
Weirdly, I think a buzzer being lost in the national title game is like our worst case scenario, right? Like I think
come back.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario for Carolina is that they lose by like a 6 to 8 point margin against Michigan, in which Michigan's just dominant, but they keep it close, and he can just be like, all right, cool. I think a national championship, kind of like you're saying, like, hey, I got this for Arizona. Everyone can feel good. Arizona fans are happy. And he leaves for greener or bluer pastures. Yeah. I think
another important thing quickly, Mike, is that Arizona's losing like their whole roster. Braden Burries is going to the NBA. You got a guess there, Riley, as she sneaks in behind you. And then you have Koa Pete's probably going to be an NBA pick. He could come back, but I think he's a first-round pick. Jaden Bradley is a starting point guard for them. He's gone out of eligibility. So they're losing. You probably know the roster better than I do, Riley, but he's losing most of his talent. He has 2 big-time commitments coming in next year in the freshman class. So he could bring those guys with him much better than UNC's recruiting class. I like their 2 guards. I think it's Caleb Holt and one other player. He could obviously bring them.
Other. Duron Holmes' brother. Cameron Holmes, Duron Holmes' brother. He's a wing, 6'6", yeah.
Yeah, so he's bringing 2 recruits with him. So, Riley, what do you think? You think best-case scenario for UNC fans lose to Michigan and then he's named, or do you see – does that really – also, he probably has his mind made up, right? Like the mentality, the mindset, like he knows what he's going to do. Money's not going to be – I don't think there's going to be any much difference in money. I mean, you think UNC could really – you think UNC outbids Arizona and they can't match it? I think Arizona's going to do everything they can to match whatever UNC offers too.
That's a good point. Maybe money isn't as big of a factor. I think UNC should, like, even if it's a difference of like a 1 or 2 million, I would guess UNC could find an advantage there. But like Mike's saying, if he makes it to the title game or gets a championship, I know the inverse would be like, oh, I've done all I could do. But I just think when you have a coach get a national championship, that tends to rally the boosters, the supporters, all of that to pay and do whatever they need to retain them and give in to any of like anything that he could possibly want. So I think best case for Carolina, let me get like a 15-point Michigan win, like a leave no doubt, like to really hammer home in Tommy Lloyd's mind, I've done all I could do here. And yeah, that Carolina Blue, that Argyle's calling my name. Bring Caleb Holt with you. Let's go from one Caleb from Atlanta to another Caleb from Atlanta. Caleb Holt is legit, by the way. He's my favorite guard by far in this class. Looked awesome in the McDonald's All-American game. I'm sorry if you can hear my son in the background. He's excited about a fire truck. But anyway,
love it.
So yeah, that would be my take.
Pro kid here on Big Hitters Only. Yeah, I was gonna say, not just Caleb Holt. You kind of bridge the gap here between Caleb Love. I mean, think about how much he's gonna be welcome in Chapel Hill. He's gonna feel comfortable if you get Tommy Lloyd, his former college coach, and he's always gonna be beloved as a Tar Heel, despite kind of transferring out to go to Arizona. All right, anything else with Tommy Lloyd? He seems like the most likely. He seems a great option. I would Dusty May, Tommy Lloyd, flip a coin for me. I think both are great. I kind of like Dusty May for some reason better. Maybe it's the Michigan thing in my time there. I went to his intro press conference. Tommy Lloyd obviously seems more likely. Mike, you just kind of listened to a press conference of May talking minutes ago at the Final Four. He said go ahead and tell us what he said.
Yeah, no, he was interviewed by Jeff Goodman of Field 68, and basically Goodman's like, hey, I got to ask you this. I know you don't want to talk about it. And May gave the response you want to hear if you're a Carolina fan, right? Which is, hey, I made a rule last year when my alma mater opened up. I'm just never going to comment on coaching searches. I'm really, really happy here. I'm really proud of this team and proud to represent this university. But, I'm just out of principle and my own rule. I'm not going to comment, which is the right answer, right? I think it's important to distinguish, getting Tommy Lloyd or Dusty May, frankly, is a home run hire for Carolina. This is A++ type hire for Carolina, and it really shows the pedigree of the university and the respect that the brand has. It's not for sure, right? And I think sometimes we have Carolina, blue tinted glasses on when we're talking about the coaching search right now, and we're thinking hey, we got two candidates, they're giving the right things you want to hear. It could end up that Tommy Lloyd does lose to Michigan and says, you know what, no, I'm good, right? I think we need to just be fully cognizant that that's still a distinct possibility. I think given a couple things that have been out there and just kind of logicking your way through it, buddies that John Tobin, shout out to him, kind of brought up a really good point today, which is twofold. One, the Arizona folks, the Arizona media is talking about what, that they're acquiescing to Tommy Lloyd's demands, that all their contacts, the athletic department in Arizona feel very confident that they can craft an offer that meets everything he wants, including potentially a different reporting structure than the one currently in place, so he doesn't actually have to interact with the athletic director as much. And to me, John brought up a good point. That very much could read like when you typically see college coaches bolt from the university as kind of cover, right? Hey, we tried to give him everything that he asked. We tried to up the offer. We were very, very competitive. Almost a preparation for the fact that this person might be leaving, and we just want to make sure our fans and boosters are aware that we did everything we could to keep him. So I think that's one thing that a lot of the media focus has been on, or the kind of whispers around the Arizona athletic department that may not be as they seem at first glance. The other thing is I keep hearing that Tommy Lloyd's using this situation as leverage, which hey, all power to you, right? You're making the Final Four with your team. You're never going to have more power from a bargaining perspective than you have right now. I don't think the Carolina noise is just window dressing. I don't think he's just using this to get a payday. And I think that largely ties back to his mentor is Mark Few, right? Who's best friends with Roy Williams. I don't think that connection and that kind of respect for Roy that Mark Few has and vice versa is something that's going to get ignored. And, if Lloyd, I don't see Lloyd using this as leverage alone. So all those caveats to say, it's not a guarantee. I just think that for anyone saying that this is impossible, like Mike DeCourcy online, like that he's not leaving Arizona, I don't buy it. Like I think this is a very legitimate possibility.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the UNC brand is stronger. Like they haven't been to the Final Four. Is that in 25 years? That's their last title,
Yeah, since
right?
2001. 2001 is the last time they went to the Final Four.
With
Yeah,
Little,
97 was when they won it, right?
I mean, UNC's been to the Final Four 5 or 6 times since then, under 2 different coaches. Yeah, it was Roy Williams, but it wasn't Roy Williams' best teams. I mean, you can win at UNC. There's just the resources, the recruiting, and things have changed over the last 5 or 6 years. What'd you say?
Like, look no further than Hubert Davis made a finals.
Yeah, with Roy's players. And Brady Manick, who was a huge transfer. I mean, it's easy. And Michigan too. Michigan's, I think, the last title was '89, and I think they went to a Final Four since then. But it's easier to win in Carolina. The ACC is easier to win right now than the Big 12. The Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country, some would argue, next to the SEC. I mean, they're all 4 of those are good, but the ACC might be 4th. And you go head-to-head with Duke, so you get those big-time games, but it is easier to probably get to number 2 in the ACC than it is every year the Big 12, the Big 10, SEC. I'm not sure how much that factor. Maybe he wants to own the West. Maybe Tommy Lloyd wants to own the Pacific Coast and the Western Time Zone. I've kind of heard that argument that he can access any crew he wants, west of the Rockies. I'm not sure geography-wise, like UNC can go after those recruits as well. And there's more talent on the West Coast. You have all of the Atlanta, Florida, New York areas too. Also, I think this AD stuff is super interesting. Like, how bad is the relationship with the AD? And Connor may want to put the picture of her up. And Desiree Reed Francois. First of all, what a freaking name. This is the Arizona AD. She looks straight out of like Veep, like Selena Meyer. I mean, she is put together. She looks about 50. She's a looker. Big time red lipstick. She's 53. She was the AD she was at Virginia Tech as a football AD, UNLV, Missouri, Arizona. I mean, she is a career athletic administrator, politician.
She was brought in to fix the deficit issue at Arizona, and by all accounts, she's done a fantastic job. Right? Like, yeah. I think
let's
this
keep playing that up.
What's that?
Let's keep playing that up. Arizona admin. She saved y'all.
Look,
Free Desiree.
She was brought in to fix a problem, and she's fixed it. My hypothesis is that when you are a basketball coach in this landscape, you need NIL money. You need that money to be competitive. And when you have an athletic director that's brought in to legitimately cut cost, that is just an incompatible philosophy. So, like, you can't, like, these Arizona fans are mad that they don't get along. It's like, yeah, no one's going to be happy with their boss, and their boss is saying you can't have more money, right? Like, it's just it seems like Arizona is not in as good a financial situation as they need to be in. And Tommy Lloyd recognizes that in the current landscape, you need money to be competitive, right? Like, it's probably not personal. It's probably just business.
All right, where else? Let's go. I mean, Dusty May, is there anything else to touch on him? If I was him 2 years at Michigan, I would probably stay at Michigan. Get it done there and go from there. I mean, he's going to be on the name. Any job that's kind of UNC caliber, talking like Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, UNC, those are probably the only jobs he would consider. I would put Michigan as kind of a top 10 job. They have tons of money there. It's a great place to live. I think his son's on the team right now. Big Ten, I mean, he's dominating Michigan State, so I'm not sure. Who knows with Dusty May? Is there anything more to touch on him, Riley?
Ross, I think the son being on the team, that's a definite perk for us. No one loves having coaches' sons on the team more than UNC, so Charlie May will fit right into the culture. But on a serious note, with Dusty, there's part of me, look, I know I said at the top with Tommy Lloyd, I want to be cautiously optimistic. I still want to be realistic and think through, like, snagging a coach from a Final Four program is going to be tough, whether it's Tommy, whether it's Dusty. That being said, I am intrigued that there's just like no noise around UNC and Dusty May, and yet he's still being thrown out there as one of their top targets. That has me questioning, is there like something that's super quiet behind the scenes? Maybe there's more interest than is being led on. I think, like, given the choice between the two, Ross, I might be with you that I would, like, slightly prefer Dusty just because I think he's more of a killer when it comes to portal stuff. Like, you look at the haul that he had this year with Yaxel, Merez, and Mara. Those three dudes entered the portal and were like Michigan locks within one day.
Don't forget Cadeau.
Yeah, I guess so. It's been really good. Cadeau's been great for them this year, and I'm not trying to just, like, be sour grapes with that or anything, but like, I think Mara, Merez, and Yaxel there's a world where all three of those guys could be lottery picks. It's not going to happen, probably won't, I should say, but, like, I mean, Merez is someone who I'm massively high on in terms of NBA upside. Yaxel probably, like, it would be a shock at this point if Yaxel wasn't a lottery pick, but, like, with those guys, it's none of them had a long, drawn-out, oh, where am I going type recruitment when they hit the portal. It was like, they're in there, and Dusty May already has this locked up. He already has those dudes signed, sealed, delivered. And when you get a coach like that, whoever is in charge of on his staff, in charge of the tampering, the back channeling, whatever you want to call it, when he has a reputation for that, it's like, you back that with the the brand, you back that with the resources, you back that with that Carolina Blue and Argyle, as I already mentioned. Like, who is turning that down? That's where I would still, like, even though I think I like Tommy's brand of basketball stylistically a little bit more, the recruiting side of things makes Dusty a little bit more appealing. And if UNC, if the search firm, if Newmark is, like, working that behind the scenes, would be really exciting. So
it is interesting. Inside Carolina has not taken him off, like, the coaching hot board, which means I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You're talking to agents that are still kind of keeping that option open. Could be a pull to get more money, to get an extension. Those things you always have to consider that as well. So
he hasn't signed an extension either, yeah. Right? Like, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you have two coaches in the Final Four that are, garnering more success for the program than you could have hoped at the beginning of the year, and they both had refused to sign an extension up to this point, or have not signed an extension at this point. And they're both giving answers that say, I'm not going to comment.
So is not signing an extension, I don't know if they've even been offered one, is that because they know they can get more with UNC coming after them in a Final Four run? Or is someone saying, hey, don't increase your buyout, UNC's coming to get you, and that makes you less attractive if your buyout jumps to $18 million?
Let's think about this, like, logically, right? Like, if you were this, like, high-profile coach taking your team to the Final Four, it's your first opportunity. Dusty's been in the Final Four before, but it's your first opportunity to take that program to the promised land and win a championship, right? You don't want distractions. You do not want noise. The quickest way that you can kind of get rid of that distraction, that noise about being targeted by UNC's coaching search, is signing an extension saying, I'm here for life. This is where I want to be. Neither of these guys has done that, right? Like,
the buyout goes to like $20 million. It would become the highest buyout in college.
Make it completely, completely unrealistic to get this guy. So, if given that this is a distraction, right? Like, you are at multiple press conferences being asked about UNC and if you would entertain the offer from UNC, and knowing that noise around the program distracts your players, distracts your focus on getting your team to that title and over that hump, right? Why would you not sign an extension unless you were seriously considering going elsewhere, right? Like, At this point, your leverage is still incredibly high. You can still get an incredible extension. They're offering you their Godfather deal already. Getting from the Final Four to the championship, maybe a little bit extra, but you have leverage super high. You can, shut down all the noise immediately and really focus. Neither of those guys is doing that.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's one way to look at it. This is some great UNC fan fiction. Both are back on the board.
Hey, man, I'll live in this fantasy land.
Yeah, I mean, kind of brought me back in on Dusty May. There is a reason why he's still on, like, the hot boards and stuff. And he hasn't completely shut it down. Very interesting. I think if we end up with any of those two, it's a freaking home run. And then I think Billy Donovan is a great backup. I think
I don't like the April 12th start date. I don't like that.
What'd you say, Mike? You broke up there.
I don't like the April 12th start date, to be completely frank. Like, that scares me. It means that next season would be a wash because he'll be behind on the portal. He doesn't have the infrastructure. Because I guarantee you, Lloyd and May would both bring all their guys that came over. They'd probably bring in a GM that's been doing the back channeling anyways. I don't think these portal players, like, particularly, like, it's not like their hearts in Tucson or Ann Arbor. Like, they'll go to Chapel Hill if the check is the same and and the coach is the same, right? So, at the end of the day, like they bring in an infrastructure that's needed to succeed at this level with them overnight. Billy Donovan would have to kind of build that from the ground up, and then starting a week later than these guys potentially would be potentially disastrous for next season. So
there's
I want to throw the disasters out there. I think you can still get a couple players and get some to return, but yeah, it's not ideal. You'd rather have the person. So the portal closes on 14 days from April 7th. So that'd be what, April like 21st. Yeah, while we're on our honeymoon, right, Michael?
Honeymoon for me, but yeah. Go ahead, Riley.
I was just gonna say with Billy Donovan, my hope there would be like even if you don't have the best roster ever for next year, like if this is a decade-long commitment, you sort of live with the lumps. You kind of get a grace period that first year anyway. Yeah. The only thing is like you still got to be a tournament team. There's probably still pressure to be like a 6 seed or higher even in the first year, just because it's like Billy Donovan's not exactly young. You can't if you're on the bubble, that you're going to start to have a lot of doubt come in. But I don't know. I would counter that by saying, look at Rick Pitino's first year back at St. John's. That roster stunk. Like their best player was the chubby Harvard transfer, Chris Ledlam, who like that was their marquee acquisition, and it started off slow, but then he got it rolling. Like that would be my hope with Donovan coming back. It's like when you look at Pitino, when you look at Kelvin Sampson, someone else, and I think I've made this case to y'all before, who was out of the college game for a while and then returned. I can't remember who's I'm missing, but yeah, like you've seen it happen where guys have been out and come back and find success. But yeah, Micah, you have an uphill battle unless you can just. I mean, if you retain Vasar, if you retain Stevenson, if you retain Dixon, there's at least a starting point. But like you probably need a lot more firepower from on the perimeter to make Vasar feel good about signing a check to come back to Carolina.
I think it's important to note you can enter the portal in those first 2 weeks, 2-week period, which you can commit at any point.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of players won't commit until late April. These good players, they're like, I'm gonna wait this out till May. I'm gonna get my price up. I mean, Vasar, if he goes to the portal, he'll be top 5, if not top 3 most desirable portal players based on his performance last season. I think Derek Dixon could always find a home. But some of these players can wait, and I'm sure UNC will ask them to wait a little bit to get a coach in and to then make a decision. They can also enter the portal, get their name in there, and then always pull back. That's happened before. We saw it with Seth Trimble. So these things can happen. I have a question about general manager at UNC. I'm going to bring that up after I talk about Rowback.com, Big Hitters 20. If you want a sports podcast, if you like these podcasts with intel from Mike and Riley, check out Rowback.com, Big Hitters 20, sweaters, sweatshirts, jackets, pants, and especially the polos and their hoodies, Rowback.com. Promo code Big Hitters 20. Tell your friend, use a new email. All right, we got Riley back on here. Ooh, look at hair on Riley. Big time hair. I got a kid in there in the background. All right, so what's the deal with Jim Tanner? I feel like I haven't heard much. He's staying on for the transition, I think, with Sean May. Is that what I read, Mike? Is it him and Sean May?
I think you're right. I think it was Tanner and May helping with the transition.
Frederick, too. And Hoots. I'm sure Hoots is involved.
I don't think Hoots has ever lived in Carolina.
I think he's never. Oh, yeah. And I don't think he's in Carolina. And
he's a designated survivor for Carolina Athletics.
Yeah, that's right. Marcus Page took a Carolina assistant job. He's probably going to be like the third assistant there or move up a little bit.
Charlotte?
Assistant. Yeah, it's Charlotte for Marcus Page. So what's the deal with Jim Tanner? I've heard some not so good things about how it's gone this past year. It is his first year. I'm sure it didn't help that him and Hubert, it seemed like they'd have a good relationship. I mean, Hubert wouldn't talk about him, and we never got to get Jim Tanner on the record with anything. So who knows? I think when you avoid the media, you allow fans to come up with their own observations and own thoughts. I would imagine a new coach would want to bring in his own GM, and the buyout for Jim Tanner is pretty big. He's getting paid the most of any GM in basketball. Like, Riley, you're smiling. What do you think's going on with Jim Tanner?
Well, for one, I'm thinking back to this was the pod we did before the first round loss to VCU back when, like, you posed the question, Ross, what happens to Hubert if we lose that VCU game? And I think all three of us were like, yeah, he's got to go. But while hashing all of those possibilities out, I think it might have been Mike who said, yeah, we're really getting our money's worth with Lombardi and Jim Tanner, the two highest paid GMs in their respective sports. But Yeah, even to that point, like what you're saying with the relationship with Hubert, who could have seen this unfolding the way it did, where the coach who didn't want a GM who has it forced upon him. Wow, I'm really shocked that there was not a great working relationship there. Like when you look at the state that we're currently in, where the two top candidates are, you probably could have hired either of them a year ago if they had just moved on from Hubert, instead of doing the whole like, oh, we got to see if he can cook with Jim Tanner. You got to wait till he has a GM that he doesn't want. Then surely it's going to be turned around. It's like we just saw that Dan Wolken article that Tommy Lloyd was mowing Villanova a season ago. And you're telling me like he could be this could be us in the Final Four right now with this awesome roster. I think that's what kills me, is that like it seemed to be that the brass at UNC thought, oh, this GM thing. I feel like every serious fan knew that was a Band-Aid, that was just being slapped on to something that was clear, to someone that was clearly not the long-term answer. And I get there's politics behind the scenes with maybe you can't fire Roy's guy until you have this last effort solution or something.
Support, money behind it, full GM 1 year.
Right.
Man, let's get your wife on the pod, man.
You want to say
third appearance? Say hey.
My son woke up early from his nap today, and so we have a printer in here, and she's been printing him coloring sheets. So that's why we're scrambling here. But yeah, he loves barging in and saying what's up when I'm on podcasts anyway. So we make it roll. But anyway, all that is to say is like the Tanner thing seems. If we were honest, it was probably doomed from the start, given the circumstances that he was brought in with a coach who I would say most people didn't think was the long-term answer, who didn't want a GM anyway, and now he's just sort of lingering there after a failed regime. I mean, at least he has his agency he can fall back on. I'm sure he can go have a lucrative career doing that for NBA players again. But yeah, I would be.
I wonder what he's doing right now. Like, what is he doing right now? Like, having meetings with players. Like,
my guess is he's talking to the players. He's getting an idea of who's got a foot out the door, who doesn't, who's waiting on the coaching hire. He's probably
the transfer portal.
I mean, he's probably continuing to research, get an idea of who's who in the zoo. I mean, he's still getting paid, right? Like at the end of the day, you're getting paid $1 million a year, right? Something like that to do your job. Like you're gonna keep doing your job, even if you know that you're probably not long for the world. I think Tanner. Look, any guy you're gonna bring in, if it's May or Lloyd, like they're gonna want to bring in their own staff. They're gonna want to have their own GM. So I think he's probably not long for the world. Like. Just new regime is going to bring in new people. His buyout's high, but honestly, like if it comes down to a situation where he's kept on just to fulfill some made up role in the athletic department because they don't want to fire him and pay that money, they'll probably negotiate something so he can go back to his agency. I think it's just one of those things where, not much else to be said, honestly.
Yeah, it's such a weird deal. Like
I got to follow.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I got a follow-up question. Speaking of just like, does he get thrown into some random role? What is TJ Beisner up to these days?
Oh,
is
God.
I think, dude, the NIL, how UNC handled like campus-wide in basketball and football NIL could be studied on the exact wrong way to do everything. Like they had separate football, they had separate basketball. They combined them. Then the rev share came. They hired general managers for both teams. All this stuff, and it was never one cohesive vision. I don't even know. I mean, there's this Old Well NIL. Isn't that the group? Old Well something.
I think it's dead.
How much NIL?
Yeah, I think it's.
And like they brought in all these
collectives are gone, right?
Show. Yeah, we had
because it all became commercial.
We had one main one, and then we had GMs for each team. I know they moved the football GM who came on. Inside when I was hosting Inside Carolina podcast, they moved him. Great guy. Moved him to be a GM for like Olympic sports because he had like a 2-year contract. Same thing they did with SIDs. They moved some football SIDs to like swimming and diving and field hockey just because like they're already employed. Same thing to do with strength and conditioning coaches. They have these contracts. You want to be a good person and not make them move, and they can stay in their salary, just move them to a different role. So you see that a lot across athletics, especially with Tim Tanner's certainly a different deal. My question is like, yeah, you have these meetings with players, but I mean, that takes one day. It's like, what is he doing like today and tomorrow? Like coming in, he's got his tie on, he looks great, got the glasses, he's a well-dressed man. It's like, what exactly are you doing? I'd hope they're, I guess, laying the foundation for the transfer portal For when it
Yeah.
opens, you start contacting players and get that going. You reach out to 15 players, maybe one or two hit for the new regime. And who knows? Maybe an assistant coach stays on. I think Frederick would be the one that stays on if any of them do.
Who's to
I don't know.
say?
Who knows?
I mean, we're
Yeah.
3 steps down the road from in speculationville right now.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
it's all conjecture, but like I think it's one of those things where you expect they're probably not, especially if we're going outside the family for the first time. I seriously doubt they're retaining really anyone of the old guard, and I think in a lot of ways that's probably for the best. I think trying to piecemeal and force a family hire at any area would be kind of counter to what we're really trying to do here. And I think
Yeah.
you just kind of laid the groundwork for why this hasn't worked, right? Carolina has been behind the 8 ball when it comes to NIL and modernizing the athletic department in a lot of different ways. And they've tried to do it piecemeal wise. I think this is a really great opportunity, as frustrating as it's been this season and the last couple, to get some new blood in there and really modernize and get with the times. So, I don't think you really need to hold on to anyone just for the sake of it. I think if they have Roy's blessing, that's enough.
Yeah, I hope the Roy connection helps with Tommy Lloyd. All right, guys. One more thing. All right, so I think the next time we'll talk on this podcast, we'll have a new coach. Maybe we'll get a couple more people on here. I think 3 is the max, but maybe we'll bring on a 4th person. I don't plan on doing another podcast until then, unless this gets extended more. So hopefully Wednesday, Wednesday or Thursday, we do a podcast with the new coach. Riley, who is UNC's next coach? Where are you putting your money on right now?
Billy Donovan. Welcome back to college.
Wow. Mike Hardison. Go ahead, Riley.
I was just going to say, I will keep banging that drum that it is a home run hire. Not the grand slam that Dusty May or Tommy Lloyd is, but for any Carolina fans with Belichick PTSD, I just think Donovan's a completely different animal. I was just going to say, younger, better coach, sharper, doesn't have Mike Lombardi with him. All pros. No Jordan Hudson either. Pros across the board.
I was talking to someone this morning on a run. Shout out F3 Doherty. He listens to the show. F3 Doherty is his name. I said, look, I know people have the Bill Belichick PTSD, but Billy Donovan's done it in college. Bill Belichick has not done it in college. He is younger. He looks younger. He doesn't look 61. He maybe looks 58. But he looks like he's in shape. Yes, it's the same name. It's Bill. And yes, he's coming from the pros. But it is different. And I think if Bill Belichick ever existed, it would be like a slam dunk hire. Kentucky wanted him 2 years ago. Every Kentucky fan wanted Billy Donovan 2 years ago. That's one way to think about that hire. Mike Hardison, who is UNC's next head coach?
Yeah, I'll go out on the branch. I'm going to say Tommy Lloyd. I just think where there's a lot of smoke, there has to be fire, right? And I really just buy into the idea that in the biggest moment of your life, taking your team to the Final Four, and maybe he does this in an hour, and I feel like a complete idiot, right? But I really believe that if you weren't interested in the job, that your mentor, has a great relationship with the Hall of Fame coach from that school, you're not gonna, do them wrong. If you really weren't interested in the job, you'd shut down the distractions, you'd sign the extension, the Godfather offer to be the face of Arizona athletics for the next 30 years, and he hasn't done that. And regardless of the call sheet prediction markets and everything like that, I don't know if you guys saw the Bangladesh-based bot that's manipulating things. Regardless of all that noise, right? You got to watch what people do, not what they say. And so far, every move that's been made, to me, seems like he's got a foot out the door. Could be completely reading that wrong. Again, I am fully aware of the Carolina blue tinted glasses I have on. But from the outside looking in, it just looks like a guy that's ready to make a change.
Dude, I meant to talk about the Kalishi. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's Kalshi, but maybe I'm wrong.
Kalishi. I have no idea.
I think it's just Kalshi, yeah.
That one bot, Derek Early, at Morning Show.
Dude, that's crazy.
0099.
Crazy.
Dude, I mean, the stuff he says, he's replying, and the stuff he says, makes sense. It doesn't seem like it's someone hired, right?
He's trying to inflate the price for Donovan shares and then buying against them. That's what he's doing.
It's crazy, and I see his tweets everywhere. So whatever he's doing with the engagement and algorithm, it's working for a UNC fan / reporter like me. It is bizarre that
it's
that's
crazy.
now
Yeah.
Yeah,
God,
so he's really pushing Donovan. So,
Yeah.
all right, be careful out there. All right, guys, Riley, Mike, really appreciate your time. Check out roadback.com, Big Hitters 20. We appreciate you listening on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, like, follow, and tell your friends about this podcast. I think next time we'll talk to you, we'll have a new head coach.